So y'all know I had to be all fancy. So of course we just went through all of these things. So you may have sensed that, something's wrong with your child, and you take them to the doctor, you're getting them evaluated, you're hoping for the best, and then the doctor tells you, oh yeah, your son or daughter has autism. So then you're like, okay, at this point, from the time they say these words, well, really, the time you feel like something is wrong, you start to go through these stages of grief. It's never, clear cut. You may skip over a couple stages and go through, others, or you can, go right back to the first one. Sometimes I have experienced that. I went right back to denial at some point. But it's important that the most important thing is to be patient and kind with yourself as you grieve, because we have to look at it like, how can I say it? When you have your kid, the baby comes out, 5 fingers and toes, 10 toes, 10 fingers and all that. And he's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. And then in your mind, you have this thing, okay, my child is going to be this, my child is going to be that. And then when you hear a doctor or someone tell you that, no, they're not. They may never talk. They may never do this. They may never do that. You are literally experiencing the death of what you thought your child would be, what you aspired your child to be. Hearing that, I can remember when, doctor was like, my kid would never read. That's hard for a parent to take. So it's like you're experiencing death. So it's like, so that's why I labeled this as, the stages of grief, because it's like you're grieving the death of the child that you thought you were going to have. So we're going to get into it. So, all right, the 7 stages of grief. We have the first one, shock and disbelief, denial, anger, depression, bargaining, acceptance, and resolve to overcome. Ladies, do y'all see anything that needs to be added?
So my son wasn't diagnosed until he was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And by the point that he had gotten diagnosed with autism, he'd already had a diagnosis of ADHD, severe ADHD. Mm-hmm. And when I went through all of, I have to say, I completely, totally skipped the first one totally. And I went straight into the difficult. But I mean, in there at some point, there is also a point of validation, because, we come to the point when we finally not accept it and overcome it, but we're validated that, how we move forward. And for me, that was a huge point when he got the diagnosis of autism, because we had been battling with so many things, and I had already gone through all of these other steps of griefs.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got to the autism, and I kept saying, there's something more here. There's something more here. Mm-hmm. I had the validation, and I was able to move further forward.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I need to move us, because, wait a minute. There we go. We was covering up some stuff. Nikki, you have anything to add before we go to the first slide?
To add to what she said, to finding out at a later age for her child is important, because it does happen in different stages and phases. For people, a child can stop developing at 7, or 5, mm-hmm. or 12, like she said, or even 15,
Yeah.
So, her paying attention to her child and the differences between the behaviors, and like something else is going on here. It can't just be, ADHD. So kudos to you for being an advocate for yourself as well as your child. And now we're on a road to resolve and overcome and get resources and, be better for him. So that's great.
Okay, so let's go through shock and disbelief. Okay. The shock for me was, child, I don't know what that is. So stage 1, shock, disbelief. During this stage, you will feel confused, numb, disoriented. During this stage, in your mind, you may say, there must be some mistake. This can't be happening. And wait, what? And I was the wait, what? What are you talking about? Because I don't know what you're talking about. What is this autism? A lot of times, I think where the shock and disbelief come from is, especially when people, like some people do know what it is, and then they just can't fathom that it will happen to them. Y'all get what I'm saying? So,
or they have such a small view or window of what that looks like. A lot of our people are not fully integrated into the community. So you may have had 1 or 2 people in your community who exhibited different behaviors, and they were considered, special.
Right.
The derogatory terms that they use and that they still use, and I have to correct people and young children. But yeah, so a lot of people don't, they lack that exposure. So when they see it, they don't know, or, they're afraid to ask any questions about anything. So, yeah.
In some cases, some people just have an out of body experience. Like they just become detached from life, withdrawn from their loved ones, because they're literally in shock. Like, like you just hear something or saw something, or, say if you got diagnosed with, cancer or something, you're just literally having an out of body experience. Or some parents just go on autopilot.
How do you explain something you don't know?
Exactly. And so when you're sitting in the doctor's office and they're telling you this, like literally some people just go blank. They're not hearing anything. All they heard was the word autism. They don't know nothing that they're experiencing right now. So my tip for parents at this stage is leave the meeting, allow yourself time to react to how you've heard. Okay, good. Oh, okay. Thank you, Caleb. Gentle giant. React to however you want to react. If you need to scream, you need to holler, you need to roll, you need to cry, take a long drive to cry it out, scream it out, whatever, do it. And then make another appointment to come back after you kind of process the initial shock, and make a list of things like questions that you may have, and then, go and talk to the doctor then. Because I think, when the first time you hear it, you're not, some people just, you're not there. So it is important to go back and talk to the doctor, because a lot of times, like in my case, everything she said went over my head. And child, that pamphlet, girl, I was like, okay. And also at this time, you may become kind of standoffish to your family and friends as well. Because, you think, okay, they may not understand what I'm dealing with. So it is important to go ahead and take that time to yourself, and then go back after you can get over that first initial shock, so that you be able to hear and understand. You got anything on this, ladies? I was on point.
Yeah, on point. Absolutely agree.
Okay. I was trying to think of everything I could think of. Okay. Go ahead, Kurt. You want to say something, Sherry?
I was going to say, you had the advantage of at least getting a pamphlet. I didn't even get that.
See, yeah.
So, and like I said, I didn't really have this shock and disbelief because, like I said, I knew that there was more going on. I already done a lot of research, but yeah, you got to step back. You got to take a breath, and you've got to let it sink in.
Exactly. So this is stage 1. Stage 2, denial and isolation. Guys, this is like the biggest one. Especially with all the parents that I've been working with, denial is the number one stage of grief that is so hard to get over. Especially in I know in the Black community, we're so quick to say, oh, the child is just bad, or just beat it out of him, how we, I'm just saying,
we have the good old country folk in my family,
right? So you know what I'm saying. So it's like, child. So then when you hear something like that, we're like, oh no, he just get that baby some Robitussin, he'll be okay. So I mean, people think like that. So during this stage, you're dealing with denial. You're refusing to believe what has happened. We talked about that. That's sort of intertwined with the shock of it. Of course, you think there's a mistake, which eventually clear up. What we just saying, sometimes our families were like, oh, he'll be okay, he'll grow out of it. No, that's not how it go. Others will seek second and third opinion and some magical treatment or cure. Been through that. Looking all online, all in other countries, looking for all kinds of stuff. And of course, he'll grow out of this. He or she'll grow out of it. That is one of the number one things that I hear parents say. He'll grow out of it.
In my family, it's let's beat it out of him.
Yes, exactly. Isolation. Now this one can be kind of tricky because a lot of times you say my child is the only one who's not acting appropriately. So a lot of times I see a lot of moms, they shun from taking the kids out because they're afraid of what people will look at the child's behavior or something like that. They isolate themselves at home, they'll stay home with the kid. They don't do anything. They won't take the child out because they're afraid of what other people will say about their child's behavior. And some people, and that can cause another problem that we'll talk about, of course, depression, because you're not getting interaction and you are actually harming the child even more, not letting him get interaction with other people as well. Anything to say on this, ladies?
Denial is a huge issue, not only for the parents finding out, but for the friends and family. I heard many people grow out, but I also heard that's a typical teenager. That's a typical preteen, which doesn't make it right. And then you have the side of the people who live in that box, who believe that it's really not a disease. It's really not a diagnosis of any sort. It's something that can be eaten out of the child. Haven't received enough discipline in their life. That's why the way they are. And denial, his father still has that denial all of these years later. He will not. He has the firm mentality of, well, you're going to act up, I'm going to beat it out of you. He doesn't understand the melting.
Right.
And that's all part of the denial. So you have that on more than just the parental front. You have it across the board with everyone that you comes in contact with the children.
Mm-hmm. Nikki?
I want to speak on you with the parents feeling embarrassed when they're out in public, so that prevents them from coming out. And I've actually had encounters where, being in the grocery store, the child is acting up or whatever. I'm aware. I've worked in the field for many years, mostly with adults. So when I see children, I'm quite aware. The parent may not know, but I'm quite aware. So I'm always engaging and always welcoming. It was one time at a register, I actually had to hug a mother because she felt so embarrassed that a child was acting out. But then when we started to interact, he calmed down. So she was just relieved because she's like, most people are not that, understanding, and I'm like, don't ever feel embarrassed because he feels that. You know what I mean? So sometimes you might want to take the time to teach people, but it's hard when people are very ignorant. So I get it.
Child, I had some stories, baby, about to get into fights and everything.
I've seen it, but when I see it, I'm engaging. I try to engage to, try to bring the parents, scares or the embarrassment, whatever because it builds up and you start to really see it. And it's like, what do I do? Like, I'm just ready to leave everything, so sometimes stepping in, helps that situation. And they see people do care. Yeah. So, that's important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There's been many a times when I've been in the store and been anxiety full tilt because he's having a meltdown and everyone's staring at me like, why don't you discipline him?
Right. I'm like, why don't you do something? Like, I am doing something.
Like you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And again, it's the lack of awareness, and it's something simple that can be taught in school very young. Yeah. So children are aware that other children are different, So I would always bring my children to work just so they grew up knowing that people are different. So and being accepting, I didn't want them to have those reactions to different people, being out in social and making them feel even worse. You understand what I'm saying? So
yes. Yeah.
We got to kind of lead our children a little bit, with understanding and, explain things to them instead of just brushing it off, and making it seem like it's nothing. Kindness is important.
It is. My tip for parents during this time, during this stage would be use this time to just gather information and learn more. Like transfer that energy to, okay, I need to just get it together and do more research and really learn more about what autism is. To get through the isolation, depending on where you are, there are
be patient with yourself too.
Yes, most definitely. There are like groups. There are like online groups, and like some hospitals, children hospitals have groups as well. Reach out to other families that may understand. And see, that's the thing. When you feel alone in it, and you think nobody else understands, so it's very important to reach out to someone that understands, that's there with you. And that's what my goal is, to be a person that understands. I'm there with you. We're going through this together. So that's two of the tips that I would suggest for parents to do when they're going through this stage. Whoo, child, stage 3. Well, anger. Yes. What can we say about anger? I mean, you're going to be angry towards everything. Yourself, God, great grandmama, your ancestors, the what they call the Similac company. People who made you're gonna be mad at everybody because you're gonna think that everybody that somebody did or something caused this. So this is like one of the biggest things that a lot of us parents and family members go through. We go through that anger, we go through that resentment, you're frustrated. And like I said on one of the bullet points is parents become angry because of the lack of support. And that's one of the areas I was angry because I didn't have any support. I was living in another state, didn't have any family members there. They didn't understand what was going on. I really didn't know how to explain it to them, really, because I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So I became very angry with God and everybody else because I couldn't see my way out of it. So stage 3 is definitely one of the stages where a lot of parents linger. I'm finding out when I'm doing my counseling sessions, a lot of parents linger at anger for a long time. and then sometimes they'll get over it and then go right back to it. It's like you're a circle. Sherry shaking her head. Go ahead, Sherry.
All these years later, I still have bouts of anger.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's from a lack of support because I'm a single mom doing it all on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I get so angry. I get angry at God for making this happen. I get angry for not being able to do something about it to make things better for him. I get angry at the school. I get angry at me. And it like I said, and it's a vicious circle. And you think you get over it and you get through all of these, different grief cycles. And then all of a sudden, a year or so later, something will happen and back in the shower crying.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Like, I mean, and quite honest, from my perspective, you really don't get over any of it because it's like a cycle. It's like a vicious cycle. You're going to go over it over and over again. Like you said, it's going to be something that will pop up and then you're angry again or you're depressed again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we have a comment in the so Tata said, hold on, let me pull it up. I can read your comment. He says, when it comes to anger, how do you keep from going into a downward spiral? Anybody want to answer that?
If I can catch it after I've had my cry spell, because I've got to get my cry spell out. I lock myself in my room, in the bathroom, whatever. Mm-hmm. I've learned through helping my child that binaural beats are an amazing, amazing help aid. They're a meditation. And I will just put those into those and let my body absorb on them mm-hmm. to kind of bring myself out of them. Because there's different beats for different things. There's calming, there's sleep, there's positive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I will find the positive ones to kind of regroup and get my body back on the right path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nikki, do you have anything to not let your anger go into a downward spiral? Do you have any tips to not?
I'm for positive affirmation, mm-hmm. Positive words, trying to give myself a pat on the back for what I did feel successful in versus, beating up myself for maybe not being successful in something that's happening at the time. You know what I mean? But like she said, getting that cry out, mm-hmm. It's a relief. You know what I mean? It's such a relief to just get it out because you're so frustrated and overwhelmed that's what it does. It just makes you cry. Science. Tears, they build up. Sometimes your face is swollen, your eyes hurt, mm-hmm. But you go through it and, got to think positive for the kids. The next day is coming and we're going to have to do it again.
Yeah. So, and like for me, it's like music and cry. Just, take a moment to cry it out, pray, scream, holler, play some music and go to sleep and do it all over the next day. That's all you can do because it's not about me. It's about him. So you have to make sure you just try to, I won't say get rid of all the negative things, because you're not going to do it, but try to balance it. Make sure that positive things, positive feelings and positive energy is more than the negative. Are we just moving right along now? All right. Stage 4. Depression. This is the one I struggle with. I struggled with this one when Mr. Caleb was diagnosed with it. So, of course, you start to beat yourself up. You're blaming yourself for your child's diagnosis. I went through that. I literally sat down and wrote out all the things that I would eat, that I was eating during pregnancy, where I bought clothes, what I was, drinking, what, where I was living. Did they have lead in the house? I went nuts because I'm thinking it's something that I did that, that caused it. And just investigating the landlord, just thinking that they put something in the water. It was wild. I told the story this is when I I went, let me see, I think I was like a 8, size 8. And I literally went up to a size 22 because I was depressed. And so I was like eating, and yeah, it was wild. So, yeah.
It
And
happens so quickly.
yes, it does. And just not wanting to socialize, cutting everybody off, feeling worthless, feeling like I was the worst mom in the world. When I'm talking to parents, I try to be as transparent as possible. Like I was so depressed that I wanted to commit suicide. That's how bad it was, because I felt like I did something wrong to Mr. Caleb. It was all my fault. So, yeah, that was a really, really hard time. So for a year, I went through like severe depression. And again, didn't have any support. So that caused me to have a rough time getting, out of this stage. One of the points I have here, you feel confused, you're powerless, you're stressed out, you're sad, you're feeling guilty. And then another part, I was very irritated with everything. Like, child, leave me alone. Like, I didn't want to be bothered with nobody. And like, you talk about, I don't do humans now, baby. I didn't do no humans then, girl. I really didn't do humans then. So this is a real serious part of the stages, because like I said, I had suicidal thoughts. So it is very important, again, like we just said, having that support system. If you don't have family members, here's a tip that I have on here is, call a friend, do something that you enjoy, contact a counselor, or, ask a doctor to, recommend a therapist. And in my case, that's what I had to do. Some people literally have to go on to, depression medication as well. During this stage, don't be afraid to talk about your feelings. And that is one of the things I find a lot of the parents that I work with, they don't talk about their guilt feelings, or they're afraid to, confront, how they feel, what they believe at the time, because they may be going through depression and still be in denial. Y'all get what I'm saying? So it's very good to, talk with someone. And if you're unable to talk to anyone, we're going to talk about this later, about journaling, using a journal to journal and put down your feelings, because it is a way of you, getting some of those feelings out. You ladies have anything to say with it?
Depression is one of those things that's also the cycle that just keeps going and going. And, I'm blessed. I have massive sets of depression. Sets of depressions that last for like a week. Is fairly minor in the grand scheme of things. But I know during that time, all I want to do is sleep. I'm really irritable. I can't adult. I mean, there is no not being able to. I can't adult.
Yeah.
And Monkey is high functioning. I'm blessed. He's high functioning, and he's learned to recognize those. And when he was little, he would actually get in bed with me and play cars on me. So, bless his heart, he was doing what he could to try to, bring me out.
Yeah.
But it's really hard when you find yourself falling into that rabbit hole. And, and like I said, mine are very short, and I can bring myself back out. I have, my mom, who is a blessing. And like I said, Seth is the most positive, upbeat kid you'll ever meet. And he is the most caring kid as well. So he gets really, really worried when he sees me go down that rabbit hole. And that's when he, just everything he began to get me out of it. But you've got to have somebody there. I mean, when you don't have a support system, it's really hard. You have to have an open line of communication with your doctor, a friend, a family member, even a group, a Facebook group, somebody that you can just spill to.
Yeah, exactly. Nikki?
I agree. The support system is very important. But like you said, going through the anger before the depression, you kind of isolate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So now, we need people. But the resources that are out there now, getting other parents together,
Mm-hmm.
to have group community type situations, to where we can relieve each other. If that comfortability is there and that trust is there. Yeah, respite care amongst each other. I mean, they have it through the organizations, but, parents alone can come together and create that, without the state getting involved.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was one of the programs that I had in New Orleans, was that, not only would I have like play dates for the children, but I actually had dates for the parents. We would have the kids we have like a kid sitter. We had some students from the college that would watch the kids or the young adults, while the parents just had a woosah moment and not worry about little Johnny or little Sarah. They were having a ball, and it was a moment for the parents to just have a moment to talk about adulting, have a drink, have some food without chicken nuggets, that kind of thing, and it really, really helped a lot of the parents, because, we are so focused on the children, we forget about ourselves. Hold on one second, guys. I'm sorry, y'all. OG Jam. OG Dad always like, you see, I'm doing productions right now.
Well, he needs something.
No, he just want to ask me a question.
Add his 2 cents. Come on, OG.
No, he just 2 cents. He wants. I cannot, y'all. Okay, let's get serious. Okay, yeah. So, it is very important that you reach out and find some type of support system during this time. Definitely. Okay, stage 5.